Hi, this is Erin from MCP Actions, and today I'm going to show you how to use the Magic Blogget boards. You're going to start by installing the actions in Photoshop Elements according to the tutorials that came either with the purchase of your action in the download or the videos that you can view on the Magic Blogget board page on mcpactions.com. Once you get them installed, you'll go into Photoshop Elements and you will look for your effects palette, which is usually over here on the right. If you don't see it, you can click on the Windows button and click next to the word effects. Once you're looking at the effects palette, you want to select the third button from the left here, which says Photo Effects if you hover over it. And after that, you will pull down your drop-down menu and select MCP Blogget Set 1 or Set 2 according to whichever purchase you made. To make it easier to see the names, I recommend that you pull down this three horizontal line icon in the top right corner. It's kind of hard to see. But once you have clicked on it, you'll get this menu and check Large Thumbnail View. And if you see show names, then check on that. If you see hide names, that means that the names are already showing and you're good to go. You'll see that you can see your names either because they are displayed underneath the action thumbnail or because you can hover over the action itself and the name will appear. Looking at the actions that come in Blogget Set 1 or Set 2, each starts with an instructions action and then has the logo adding action. After that, you will see a series of Blogget boards with various openings. So for instance, here we have 4 opening Blogget boards and we have 3 versions, number 1, number 2, number 3. You can see the pictures of these Blogget boards in the PDF file that came with your download that contains instructions for using the actions. That way you can see what each one looks like before you run it. After the Blogget boards, you will see your branding bar options. You will be able to add branding bars on the top and or bottom of your Blogget boards in 3 colors, either black, white, or gray, or black, white, or chocolate, depending on the Blogget board set that you purchased. After the branding bars, you'll see that you have 2 sharpening actions to use, and then you will have the reformatting actions to make the Blogget board fit your blog the best. Okay, so I'm going to start by running a Blogget board, and I'm going to go to the 4 opening number 2 board. Now the thing about running these actions in Photoshop Elements is that you absolutely have to have another image open before you start running the action. So you can see here I've got this MCP introductory image open. It's not one I'm going to use in the Blogget board. That's not necessary, but you do have to have something open, otherwise the action won't run. So open any picture you want and then double click on the Blogget board that you have chosen. So I'm going to double click to run this one. Oh, and it's going to tell me that in order to use this effect, a single layer must be selected in the layers palette. That's fine. I'm going to select OK. I'm going to click on a layer, it doesn't matter which one, in my layers palette, and then I'm going to run it again. So you can see that it has built my Blogget board, and then it's going to give me a series of messages that tell me how to add the images. It's important when you look at these messages to pay attention to the location. So this particular image is going in on the top left. That means it's going to be in this area right here. I'm going to press continue and it will take me to the place menu where I can choose an image to insert there. After clicking the OK button, I can move this image around anywhere in the top left square, and then to resize it so that it fits, I'm going to press down the Shift key and drag a corner. Now it's important to press the Shift key while dragging so that you can maintain the proper aspect ratio of your image. Otherwise the image would stretch too far sideways or too far up and down and it would look distorted. So once you are happy with the placement and the size of the image, press the check mark. After pressing the check mark, you will be prompted to enter your next image. Again, I'm going to move it and resize it while pressing the Shift key. And press the check mark, and I'll be prompted here for my last two images. Notice that the orientation of the image that you're adding does not have to match the orientation of your square. For instance, this particular image is vertically oriented, whereas the square in the Blogget board is horizontal. You can resize it to make it work. I'm going to make that one really big. And then finally the last photo on the bottom right. Again, I'm going to hold down the Shift key, drag to resize. I'm going to relocate. And there I have my 4th of July Blogget board. So I press the check key to finalize that one. Okay, now the next step is to look at the border that is in this Blogget board. Because my border is currently black, you can't really see it. I'm going to show you how to change it. You want to go here to your Layers palette and scroll down to the bottom, and you will see here a layer that says Change Border Color. I'm going to double click on the left-hand box and my color picker will pop up here. Now I can select any color I want from the color picker. You can see that as I click, the border changes colors. I can move the slider up and down so that I'm in the right color family, and then I can fine-tune the color just by clicking within the big square. I can also use my eyedropper. You can see that when I move my cursor off of the color picker box onto the image, I get an eyedropper. That way I could use a color in the image to match to my border. So I kind of like that bright red right there. I'll hit OK, and that's how you change the border color. Now that I'm happy with the color of the border, I can run my branding bar actions. So I'm going to scroll down here. Note that the image will flatten as you run the branding bar, so it's important to go ahead and change the color of the border before you move on. So I'm going to double click on the top heavy branding bar in the gray color. So you'll see that this gray bar has been added across the top. Okay, so once I've added my branding bar, I have several options. I can start with my text tool and add a line of text across the top. After I've added that text, I can select my Move tool and drag the text around until it's in the best location. This wouldn't have to be used just for journaling or names, dates, locations, that sort of thing. You could also use it to enter the name of your photography business or a long and skinny logo. I will give you an example of using the logo now. We have an action that will add any logo that you have. So I'm scrolling back up to the top. I select Add a Logo, and it reminds me to make sure that I'm happy with the border color, and I am. So I'm going to press Continue, and I'm going to navigate to my watermark, drag it until I'm happy with the location. I can also resize it by holding down the Shift key and dragging the corner. Once I'm happy with it, I'll hit the green check mark button, and I'm ready to go. In addition to using the logo here on top in the branding bar or wherever your branding bar is, you could also add a larger logo or watermark that goes across the face of your image, whatever you are most comfortable with. Okay, I'm going to create one more Blogget board here to show you a few more advanced tricks. In this one, I want to create a text box. So I'm going to use the 5 opening Blogget board, but I'm only going to use 4 images. In the last image box, I'm going to use just a plain colored rectangle. to allow me to enter some text and journaling on. So I'm going to start by creating that rectangle. So I'm going to go here in Elements to New and then Blank File. And it really doesn't matter what size it is. I think this 900 pixels by 600 pixels that it's defaulting to is going to be fine here. I'm going to go to my paint bucket and I'm going to fill in this image with a color that is, kind of a fuchsia color. I think that'll look nicely with what I've got. So I've selected my color and I'm going to click there just to make this square. Then I am going to save the image as my text box. You can call it whatever you want to here though. So I've got the colored square created, and now I'm going to run the, I think I'll run the 5 opening second option. It will take just a minute for the color boxes to, or the blogging boards to build themselves. And then my first image is going here on the far right, and they're going to just fill in order. I've got my berries, and now that I've got my berries, I'm going to pick up my text box, and then I am going to keep on filling in. So I'm just going to continue placing my images here until I have the last one. And I think I like that one right there. Okay, so now that I have gotten the board created, I am going to add my text. Now the first thing I'm going to do is click on the very top layer so that I can get my text on top of everything that I want it to be on top of. I'm going to select my text tool and drag out a rectangle right here. And then I'll type my message here. And click the green check mark. Okay, so I've got my colored rectangle with my text. I've got my images. Now, what if I decide that I want to rearrange the images a bit? We're going to do a couple of things. I think that I want to put the flag on the far left and these glass cubes on the far right. So I'm going to start by clicking on the glass cube layer. I'm going to choose my move tool, and I'm going to drag the image all the way over. Now I can't really see it yet, but we are about to change that. Now I'm going to go down here to the location of my flag, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click on the flag image and drag it over to the far left. Now that I have moved the images, I actually need to move the layers themselves. So I'm going to move the flag on top of the rectangle that says first block. I'm going to move the glass cubes on top of the layer that says fifth block. And then I'm going to finish by clipping the image layer to the layer underneath it. Now the way I do that is I hold down my Alt key and I hover the mouse on the line between the two layers that need to be clipped together, and then I click. And so now you can see that my image is going to fit perfectly into that square. I can rearrange it one last time just to fine-tune the placement. And then I will go back up to this top one. This one is already clipped, and I can tell because this arrow is pointing to the layer below it, and this layer is indented. So I'm going to select that layer. I've got my move tool selected, and I'm going to move the flag just a bit. And now I am happy with my Blogit board. Okay, so now that I'm happy with this Blogit board, I don't think I need to change the border on this one, but if I did, I would go back down here to the Change Border Color layer and double click on the left box to bring up the color picker. After finalizing those changes, I can again add my branding bars. And note that we can add a branding bar to both the top and the bottom, just the top, just the bottom, or either the left or the right. So here is what a lefty branding bar would look like in the white color. So you could add at this point a vertical logo if you wanted to that goes up and down, or you could add additional text or anything else that you had in mind. Now the final step, if you need to do this for your blog, would be to use one of the reformatting options, which are the last group of actions. Actually, what I'm going to do before that is demonstrate the use of the automatic and adjustable sharpening actions. You should do this before you reformat the size. So the difference between the two actions is that the automatic sharpener applies a set level of sharpening and then flattens the image so that you can't adjust the sharpening further. The adjustable sharpener, which I will demonstrate, runs the action on a separate layer. It reminds you to adjust the opacity of the layer and then flatten it if you want to. So if I like the amount of sharpening here, for the most part, but I think maybe it should be brought down just a little bit, I can reduce the sharpening by reducing the opacity of the layer. If I thought that perhaps the flowers were over sharpened, I could use this layer mask and a black brush to mask out the flowers. So I would just brush out right here. You could see over here that the area of the flowers is masked out and therefore it's not being sharpened. Okay, so I'm happy with the sharpening amounts, and now let's say that my blog is 650 pixels wide. So I am going to change the size to reduce this image to 650 pixels wide, and then I am finished with this Blogit board. The last thing to do at this point would be to go to File and Save As, at which point I could save it as a Photoshop PSD if I wanted to save these two layers, or I could switch it to a JPEG or whatever it is that you normally use for posting on the internet. For me, that would be a JPEG. Now, the last advanced feature that I'm going to show you, I'm going to use the 16 opening Blogit board to demonstrate this. So I'm going to run it. I'm not going to add any images though, just for the sake of showing you this demonstration quickly. You'll see that all the various image boxes are building over here in the layers palette. And when it finishes building, I'm going to have 16 boxes to put images in. I'm going to press stop because I don't actually want to add the images now. However, after you add the images, say that you only have 12 that you want to use, you don't have 16. What you would do is go through the action, add 12 images. You might even need to add 16, just knowing that 4 you'll be getting rid of, just depending on which squares you want to retain and the order in which the images are placed. So say I want to keep these top 3 rows only. I'm going to fill those in with images, and then I'm going to use my crop tool. And I'm going to very carefully select right along the bottom border and then hit the check mark. And here you'll see that I have just 12 boxes now, and I can still change my border color and do everything else. I can also go to the undo menu here, can undo the crop, and think about all the different formatting options here. You could have 8 vertical boxes if that fits on your blog nicely, or you've just got all sorts of options. Make sure to crop it a little bit more closely than I did there, that you don't want that white strip to appear. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial on using the MCP Magic Blogit boards. If you have questions, check out the tutorials that are available on mcpactions.com, or send me an email at Erin, E-R-I-N, at mcpactions.com, and I will help you as best as I am able. Enjoy your actions and have a great day. Thanks.